definitely feel like I'm gonna read a male. That's one thing that I definitely am almost certain of. And I definitely think that there would either be like a comedic undertone or a comedic aspect behind this person's personality.
Tyler,
Hello.
what's up, buddy? How are
Hi,
you?
I'm
Welcome.
Tyler. Great to meet you.
Buddy, great to meet you, pal.
How are you?
Come over here and sit down, man.
Sure.
I have absolutely no idea who he is, except I vaguely remember him from a TV show. That's a little embarrassing.
I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. I'm in show business and was a producer of the Roseanne show and the Best Damn Sports Show, period. I am a skeptic. I'm in show business. I know you can fake a lot of bull. But he seems like a very sweet guy, and I can't believe we're doing this.
Before we start today, I'll explain a little bit of kind of how I do what I do.
Okay, let's sage the house and be done with this bull.
My job is to basically take symbols and images and try to kind of interpret them.
Do you see them in your eyes or in your head?
It's interesting because it's usually primarily like a mental image.
When I used to do a lot of drugs, I used to think I saw stuff crossing the highway all the time. And
Maybe you were.
Yeah, exactly.
So the way that I kind of do that is I process those images and basically try to deliver it to you in a way that makes sense.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so we have that, and that.
I'm also like, I don't want to bug dead people. Like, they're dead, and I don't want to embarrass them and have dead people say they're proud of me on TV. That seems like a lot to ask of dead people.
Okay. There's a different energy coming through that's referencing to Hunter S. Thompson. This person, he was involved in writing in some capacity. Because there is a connection to having both lung and heart. The lung cancer feeling, where was that?
One of my best friends, who was a famous writer, died of lung cancer that he didn't even know he had. He was a writer like I don't know, he worked for the New York Times, but he was a writer like Hunter Thompson. A big fan of Hunter. Well, my friend's name was David Carr. He was a very, very old friend of 32 years.
He has a real good sense of humor. I think he finds it hilarious that you're doing this.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure. I'm sure. But yet he would do it.
Yeah,
I mean, he's like...
exactly. He's open to it. In addition to that, he is referencing to AA, usually Alcoholics Anonymous.
David and I are sober. We got sober. He got sober first in '88. I got sober in '89, and
nice.
That's a thing that we had in common.
Right.
I'm an alcoholic. My mother was an alcoholic. My mom was crazy, and I said, "Oh, I don't want to be like her." It's a hard life being an alcoholic. He dropped dead in the New York Times office after interviewing Edward Snowden. It turned out he had severe lung cancer and severe heart disease. My friend that just died was not something I was going to bring up. The whole writer thing, and but there's a lot of it was a high percentage of accurate information.
I don't doubt that he's with family, and he comes through really awesomely. But there's a couple people that are actually going to kind of pop in as well that I'm thinking I'm connecting to. In fact, I'm going to focus on primarily two. I don't really know how to word this. One I really like, and one is more reluctant to come through. There's a reference to the name Kay. Without giving away too much, do you know where that could potentially be?
Well, that's my aunt. Kay just passed away a few months ago.
Okay. Let's see what we can do with this. This is someone, it's interesting, when she's coming through, she comes through much younger than she was when she passed. Although she feels as though she would have lived longer, she is coming through with a feeling of being kind of younger. And she's fabulous. And the way this comes across is she's kind of exuding, almost like I feel like I want to dance with her. It's the funniest thing. Like, it's that kind of personality where she kind of exudes that elegance, I don't know if it would be the right word, but it's just a really fabulous connection with this.
Kay was an actress.
Oh, nice.
And she never wanted anybody to say how old she was. And she was an ingenue at one time, and I think she always thought of herself as that. And Kay really, she wanted to be young.
That makes sense. She's also with a cat. There's a cat connection. Does that make sense?
It's a weird cat connection Kay had. That was her thing.
Oh.
The Arnolds are dog people, except for Kay. And her cat was her best friend. She didn't have kids.
Right.
So she had that cat. My crazy Aunt Kay's cat, you know, knowing her name and her cat thing, because nobody, that's crazy.
We have a woman coming through who's referencing the significance of 7. There was a Missouri connection at some point. Let me figure out. Oh, and then again, there's another reference to a woman who was cremated but also buried. So, what's that?
That'd be my mom.
Wow, what a contrast from Kay. The way this comes across is I'm brought to my mental state, and there's a woman coming through who's doing this to me, which is always an indication of the fact where I don't actually feel mentally stable. We might consider this person bipolar or dealing with some form of a really, really strong, substantial mood swings with this. There's a significance around
My mom
7.
was those things, and she was married 7 times.
Okay.
And she also took my sister to Missouri when she was 14 and made her get married. So there's, I'm just trying to connect some.
Sure, no, that helps.
She was frustrating to deal with.
Sure.
She said, I never want to be a mother. I'm not maternal. She would say that.
Throughout her life, her actions were heavily dictated by that up and down mental stability. It's all or nothing.
Right. You know, I saw the depressive side too. You know, the manic side on one hand and then the other side, frightening. Her life on Earth was torture.
I feel like I'm kind of being secretive and hiding things. There's a reference to a flask in a bathroom. I'm seeing AA.
Well, I mean, she, you know, she's an alcoholic, obviously.
She definitely is taking accountability for that.
You know, she went on, she passed away when, her body you just can't live like that. And we hadn't resolved our relationships. You know, you don't want to carry that forever. So I got some peace there.
She's coming through with basically an emphasis on taking accountability for her actions because she's feeling as though she spent a pretty long duration of her life never taking accountability for where she feels she did wrong.
You know, and she was unhappy, and then she'd be super happy, and then she'd be unhappy, and then super happy.
Yeah.
And, you know, but I forgive her. I haven't talked about that before to anybody, her mental illness. He knew my mom was an alcoholic. He was talking about accountability from her. I, again, don't want her to, you know, I get it. I'm an alcoholic, too. I'm just in recovery. You know, she never had that opportunity. That she doesn't have to make amends. It's okay. But I tried to have a... And she did too. It was just there was never a real connection.
Yeah. I could understand that.
Are we going to have another kid, me and Ashley?
It's interesting that you say this because it does look as though that is possible. Generally, when I see fertility issues, I usually go to the woman. In your case...
That's me,
yeah, they would be going to you.
You know, it took a long time to conceive a child because of my issues.
This is interesting because with help or assistance, it does look possible in some form.
I'm very hopeful. I have a feeling it's happening. So, yeah, it's good.
I think being a father is an amazing thing for you. And I think it's a role that is interesting. When I kind of connected this with your mother, one of the big things that she conveys is she feels like you break a chain. And you broke that chain of really a cycle in a lot of areas. There's just kind of been a cycle of denial that has occurred, I would say. And it looks like with having this child now, that's something, you know, you've been through the ringer. You can be, you know, transparent, which is something that, you know, your family's had issues with at times. So
I think I was a little emotional, trying not to be emotional at first. You know, I did, but my mom, she would say, I don't tell you I love you, but I will occasionally tap you on the knee. And I kiss my son and hug with my son and dance with my son every day. He's going to know that he was unconditionally loved. And that's my goal in life. Because a tap on the knee is not going to do it. Thank you very much.
absolutely.
I think he took away a lot of comfort and a lot of closure from the reading. It allowed him to move on and move forward in his life, knowing that his mother was proud of him for ending a cycle of abuse and being an amazing father to his son.
Thank you, buddy.
That's awesome. You're so welcome. Thank you.